My name's Andrew Afosu, and I will be your host presenter for our Morgan Stanley section, where they will be talking about building a career in financial services. Now, turn to the person next to you and tell them, welcome. Welcome. Just say to them, welcome. Welcome someone. All right, turn to somebody else. You don't mean it. Turn to someone else and be like, welcome, 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 welcome. Okay, so before I introduce our esteemed guest, I want to ask a question, all right? Why are people always scared of sitting at the front? Anyone want to answer? Yeah, go on.
I think people don't really want to be noticed to everyone else in the room, because when you're at the front, everyone can see you. Whereas if you're at the back, only some people.
Do we agree?
Just more. We're just too close.
You're just too close. You like having a bit of space. A little bit of space. Okay. Yeah, okay, all right. It's just a question. Okay, perfect. Okay, once again. You can make your way forward, it's fine. Okay, wonderful. So today we're joined by Morgan Stanley. If you know who Morgan Stanley are, can you just give me a wave? If you've ever heard of Morgan Stanley. Okay, amazing. So a large majority of the room know who Morgan Stanley is. All right, before I pass on to him, I want to ask a question. Who knows when Morgan Stanley opened their doors for business? Who knows the year? Does anyone know the year in which they opened their doors for business? 1935. And they've been a global lead since then. Can we give Morgan Stanley a round of applause? And so today, for our session with Morgan Stanley, we are joined by Darshak Seth. Let's give him a round of applause. And we are also joined by Alexandra Gafukia. Let's give her a round of applause as well. So I'm just going to hand over to them to take their session. Once again, if you have any questions, please scan the QR code so we can ask your questions towards the end for our Q&A. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexandra Gadukia. I work for Morgan Stanley. I have been working in the firm for about 5 years. I started as an industrial placement in the Glasgow office, working in operations. I returned as a graduate, also in the operations, but in a different team for my whole graduate scheme. And then I took my first mobility to the London office, which I'm now currently working in. I graduated from the University of Manchester. I studied international business, finance, and economics. And then I also sit in the steering committee for the African and Business Caribbean Alliance, which is the employee network geared to help the Black experiences in Morgan Stanley. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Darshak, and I'm part of the technology recruitment team. Been at Morgan Stanley coming up to 3 years now. I've started my recruitment career about 7 years back, always been in the technology and financial industry. I've studied my MBA here in University of Cardiff. That was a while ago. Very glad to be here.
Go on. So, building a career in financial services. So if you get the next slide, please. Next one. So how Morgan Stanley is structured is it has 3 divisions, which is the institutional security group, we have the wealth management, and we have investment management. And within all these 3 divisions, we then have operations and technology, which sit across all these divisions. And then we have the company divisions as well. So Morgan Stanley works over 40 plus countries, very global, multiple offices, doing very different businesses within finance. Our core values, we have 5 core values with a 5th one being added quite recently. So we have doing the right thing, putting client first, leading with exceptional ideas, commit to diversity and inclusion, which is a new one, and giving back. This is basically what the culture of the firm is from top to bottom. Everyone emulates this. We try and make sure that everything we do, from business to the individual activities that we do, and that help align with this 5 cultures. So you'll see them everywhere written, but you'll find them in your day-to-day life as well. And then CV and tips, I think we'll come to when we're having the discussion as well of the questions, and then we'll work through this. I think this will be fitting into that. Yeah.
Yeah, so want to talk to you guys about CV tips and interview tips. So As I can see, many of you might be in your early careers, some of you might be in experienced hires, but there are a few tips that I can share from a recruitment point of view. So, very straightforward, clear and logical explanation presentation. Your CV about 2 or 3 pages, showing exactly who you are. That's, in a way, you guys are selling yourself, right? When it comes to the recruiters looking at your CV, or the hiring manager, or anybody within the business is looking at your CV, how would you present yourself? So you being you, it should be on a paper, basically. What I really like to see in CVs is genuinely authentic. Why do you want to work in a financial service industry? So something you might have done during your university days, or currently you're studying. So given an example, let's say technology, we get a lot of students who've done boot camps, who've gone out and done bounty hunting for Facebook or Google or big tech companies. These are extra curricular activities that they've done, they've added in the CVs, which has caught our eye, basically, which is say, okay, you're interested in tech, so you put it in there. Introductions is a very key message. That's basically coming and giving 2 or 3 lines again about yourself. So imagine if I was here, I'd say, hey, my name is Darshak, I'm here to talk about Morgan Stanley, and that's it. None of you guys would have been impressed, right? But you knew a bit about me, what I studied, why am I in technology recruitment, and what my history looks like, where I've come from. So again, 2 or 3 lines in your CV does make a big impact. And the biggest part I would say is you'll be shocked to see how many errors we see in CVs every day. Simple English, grammar, there's a comma instead of a full stop, there is a the instead of a, or stuff like that. Just get it proofread, from anybody, from a friend, from your parents, or whoever you feel can do the best at it. But do make sure, because time and again we see that, and then we're like, oh, you're trying to impress us, and this is a very simple mistake to make, and it happens, believe me, more than you can imagine. So that's your CV tips. Again, there is no right answer to how to write the best CV. It's you on the paper again, right?
I think just to add an actually CV from someone who's written and gone through into the door, every experience is quite important. At different stages of your life, you might have done experience that's not necessarily aligned to finance, but you have learned a skill. So look at all the experiences that you had. I wrote everything I'd done. I'd played for the orchestra. I'd worked at a different firm. I had done tutoring. So all those little skill sets, I tried to find a transferable skill that I can then link back and also describe what was the output for that, what was the result for what I did. That back to also the core values of a firm, right? It's to be able to show that you are actually a good fit for the firm, but also to show that yes, you can use the skills even though you're in a different environment from where you were in the past to where you're trying to be in the future. So keep that in mind when you're writing your CV.
Yeah, and absolutely, I agree with you, Alexandra. So you said you wrote about the orchestra, yeah, right? That's something that she could resonate with Morgan Stanley's core value. So she did the homework. She was part of the intern, I guess. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
yeah.
The orchestra, particularly, I was playing for the Kenya National Youth Orchestra. So I'm originally from Kenya. So most of my early education and experience went there before I came for university. So I did a gap year and I was playing for the National Orchestra. And you have when you're in the orchestra, you have to collaborate with people around you. You'll be playing violin, and if you're playing it playing the wrong note or playing something different, you're going to be hard, right? So it's listening to other people, practicing with people, how to communicate as well, how to present, showing up on time, little things like this. I was able to then show, okay, this is what I did at the orchestra. This is how the skills I've learned are able to be transferred in the current role I'm doing or the current role I was applying for at that time. So that's a good example of what I did.
Brilliant. That's exactly what we want to see in your CVs. So something that can be transferred over to the job you're applying or the job you probably are already in. So there has to be a synergy, a connection, right? Moving on to interview tips. It is nerve-wracking, believe me, when we were in the other room, we were a bit nervous to stand here and talk in front of all of you people. Well, sit here. But it's just be yourself. Just, again, what you've written on the paper for your CV, just portray that. So be ready to talk about your CV, what you've written. Again, going back to Alexandra's point of orchestra, could she make sense of why she's put in there? Why was that important? Why was, and she could tell the interviewer. The reason is, one of the main transferable skill was, I need to have certain discipline. I need to work with a huge team. And I believe that would be the same in Morgan Stanley. So that's why I've gained that skill, it is essential. So that is very keen to sort of understand what you've done, how it would fit in the current role that you're looking at, and how you can justify it, basically. Again, there's loads of points over here. It says, know your why. I mean, it's straightforward. Why do you want to work at a financial firm? That is something that you would know. You can search all the answers in the world, but it has to come from where you understand. Right? For me, if I give my example, I really like technology. I wanted to get in the recruitment industry. I could have done it in tech, in aerospace, in finance. But the reason I went into finance was tech was the way forward for financial institution to make an impression around the world, right? Originally, tech was not a huge part of financial, when I say originally, many years back, and it has grown since 1990s to 2000s to latest, right? And with the whole AI world. So that's what's attracted me, and that's why I got into the financial industry. So this is something, again, what you guys need to sort of understand, write it, and justify it.
I think also in terms of interview, practice makes perfect, like you said. Find someone who has done interviews before. There's so many people, and if you're early careers in the university and if you experience, a lot of your peer and your friends would have done some sort of interview. So ask them, what were the generic questions that were asked, right? They are some, depending on what you're applying for, they could be very specific interview questions for that. That's fine, but at least cover your basics, know your why. Know the company very well. A lot of the information is on the website, but also you can speak to people, especially like in events like this, who work in those companies as well. That's going to help you. There are so many frameworks of how to prepare for interviews online. I know the one I used was STAR method with a double R at the end to reflect on what you've actually done. So if you don't know the STAR method, it's just name the situation, name the task, name the action you took, and then the result, and then later reflect. So things like that. There's so many resources, but that's one I tried into. I tried when I was doing the interviews. So things like that. Make sure you are well prepared. That don't go into an interview saying you're gonna
wing it.
Yeah, wing it. You will be nervous. You could be asked a curveball question. It does help when you prepare. And the last one in the interviews that's very common in finance is commercial awareness. So there's a lot of news. There's so many news outlets, and a lot of this might be relatively new. I know when I was looking, it was quite new. Some of the things I was reading, I was like, oh, I have no idea what this means. But essentially, commercial awareness is knowing what's happening in the market, but not in the interview, not regurgitating what you're reading. It's trying to understand, okay, this is what I'm reading, this is what it means, right? What is the impact of what I'm reading to the business I'm applying for, or the area I'm applying for, and being able to articulate that. I think that's what they're interested in more than you've read the news, you can tell me this is the headline you saw. It's the understanding behind what you read, and can you speak on it? Can you talk to it to a level of depth, not an expert level. They're not expecting you to be expert in it, but can you talk to a level of depth that then will be like, okay, they know what they're talking about. They have an understanding of it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Being prepared is very, very essential. Getting news, but making sense of that news. It's a plethora of data out there, let's be honest. But again, narrowing it down to what field you're applying. So within Morgan Stanley, within financial industry, there's as Alexandra mentioned, there's ISG, there is wealth management. And if that particular news is connected, make use of it in the interview. And one more thing I would like to add on interview tips is don't be afraid to ask questions. I do HR interviews all the time, and I ask candidates, do you have questions for me? And if they turn around and go say no, and I'm like, well, you're not prepared then. Anything, you can ask me, whatever. That question, if I know the answer, I will definitely share with them. If I don't know, I can go and get the answer. But you have to be prepared to ask questions.
And it can be questions on the company itself. Culture is one. Definitely know, and if knowing the culture helps you know if it aligns with who you are and if you fit properly in the company. So that's a really good one to ask. But yeah, definitely ask. Don't enter an interview without no questions.
Cool. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So I want to touch base a bit on the career with us. Basically, there's loads of career opportunities with us. So experience hire is where I come from. But if you are just starting your career, finishing university, or doing some sort of internship and now planning to go into full time, we have the apprenticeships, we have the scholarships, we have the insights and internship programs, analyst and associate programs. All of these are available on morganstanley.com/careers. So in fact, we were just talking literally half an hour back, and the website has just been updated on 5th of September, much more easier to navigate, and you can look through all the different programs, read about it, see what fits in your career path, if it's experience hire or campus or internship, and then go full steam, basically, as I would say. And this one's very close to me. I've worked on this one for the last 2 years. It's called Return to Work program. Basically, experience hires, if they have had a 2 years plus career break, and they're looking to come back into the workforce. Morgan Stanley has, this is an initiative what we start. They come into a 16-week internship program where they learn in their chosen field, let it be tech, let it be ISG, wealth management, or any other field. And then if they are successful, then they get offered a full-time, so they return back to work. And this goes live Monday. So if you know anybody, any of your friends, colleagues, so please do share.
I think also for the early careers, I came into Morgan Stanley with the industrial placement, which is one of the early careers. I think there are different options for different stages at which you're at in university. So maybe that's one to explore if you're able to take advantage of that. I think that would be helpful. For me, that was helpful because that was my first time being properly working in the UK while in university, to get a feel of is this something I enjoy? Is this something I would want to go into? So, and it was a full year as opposed to the summer. So for me, that worked well with my situation. But definitely look at all the programs and see if that aligns to what you're looking for.
And question and answer time.
So ladies and gentlemen, please scan the QR code and get your questions in. I'll pass over to Richard, who will ask our lovely panel some questions.
So just some questions we've currently got on the Slido. First one, so someone asked 15 minutes ago, currently working as a pharmacist,
Okay.
but they desire to transition into the financial services, but are unsure where their skill set would be best suited.
I can start with that, and I can give a little context to the answer before I answer the question. So when I came, I was actually not going to the financial services. I came into the UK to be a software engineer. And then through that, I then did one minor course in finance, and I really liked it. And then I changed course to what I graduated with. But I was in a situation where I was now in finance, and I wanted to go in finance. I had no idea what this previous skill set I had, which was very technical, very math-based, very sciencey, and how that could relate to what I did. So what I did is I took what I had. So for example, this person who's in pharmacy, take all the skills you've had and learned in pharmacy. So if you're working, then yes, what you've done in the work scenario, but also if you're studying what you've studied, the projects you've done, look at the transferable skills and some of the technical skills that could be there, list them down, right? That's going to help you pinpoint some areas within the firm. So you'll be able to see on the website the different divisions and what they look like. You can look at the different job descriptions. It'll give you an idea. Then once you have that, then be able to now narrow down using that skill set and say, this I would enjoy learning, this I probably wouldn't enjoy learning. I think that's the first exercise step that would really help you. And then after that, go to events, speak to people who are in these areas and try to understand, what does a day in their life look like? If I was in this with my skill set, how would I be able to add value into that, right? That the more you do that, the more it's almost like a checkout exercise of saying, okay, maybe this might not be relevant to what I'm doing or what I want, but also the skill sets I've learned in pharmacy, this might not be relevant to that. So things like that. But also remember, look, they're looking for transferable skills. Everything can be learned on the job, right? It's just how can you demonstrate that you can learn the skills is more important. So show yourself in your best light where you are currently, and then have an idea of where you think you would enjoy working and what might align to what you're looking for, and then try that. I think that's the easiest way to approach. No one really knows, and if you do, that's great, but I think sometimes you really don't know where you want to be. It's easier to work with the skill sets you have and the skill sets you want to learn, and combining or finding the gap and learning in between. I think that's the easiest way to do it. That's how I did it, yeah.
Hope that answered that person's question. Next question for Darshak. As a technical recruiter in a financial services firm, could you please share which technical skills are in the highest demand within the industry?
So there's no straight answer to this question, but if I had to narrow down, obviously your software engineering, like your Java software engineer or your Scala software engineer, is sort of the highest in demand. We are eventually, everybody would look into the AI space. More than this question, the person who's asked it, I would like to flip that question and ask, what are you interested in? Are you interested in software engineering? Are you interested in data engineering, network engineering? Because there will be some sort of opportunity either now or maybe in the future. So what you like and you want to become, you need to focus on that rather than saying, okay, Morgan Stanley needs a lot of software engineers, let me now jump into that. Tomorrow we might not, for example. And then we might need a lot of data engineers. So you cannot make that jump again. So it's your passion, right? It's your career, your passion. You follow that, and there will be opportunities.
Okay, thank you for that. Next question. What suggestions do you have, so this is for both of you, what suggestions do you have for a recent graduate in the UK with little to no work experience in the tech field?
I say, good one, good question. I'm pretty sure you'd have done something while in university, right? So whatever you've done at university, could be your coursework, could be your project work, that is experience. It's showing being able to, because that being able to articulate what you've done there will help you then show that you have, yes, you might not have had work experience per se, but then you've had experience in whatever role you're trying to get into. So I would say utilize that, but also between the time now and probably when you're applying or when you plan to apply, try and learn, like take a certificate course, right? That aligns to what you're looking for. Try and get something. There's so much resources online that you can get that could help boost your CV, I think. And using that and what you already have in university is going to be your best bet. Every experience is experience. Don't discount it just because it's not a work experience. You can literally demonstrate so much with a lot of what you already have.
Yeah, and I would agree again. So tech with little to no experience till the time you get to interview stage or even an offer stage. What have you been doing? What have you been continuing to do to upskill yourself? Boot camp or any other course, as Alexandra mentioned, any certified course that you can then mention in your next round of interview or in the current round. Say, I might not have a lot of experience, but I've signed up for this course, or I've signed up for a boot camp, or I've signed up for learning XYZ skills, which I know will be useful for the role I'm applying. And that's what we're looking for from as point of view from hiring managers or recruitment team.
Okay, another question for Alexandra. So, could you please share your experience with the internship you done at Morgan Stanley? Additionally, what advice would you give to someone considering doing or applying for the internship?
Good question. I'll start with the first one. So my internship with Morgan Stanley, so I did it in Glasgow office. It was in operations. It was a new area of finance that I'd never worked in before. So that was quite interesting. It was regulatory reporting. You don't learn that in university. But since it was a 1 year, I had a lot of support. So I had managers. It was a small team, but I was able to learn a lot. I was already working straight on when I got into the desk. A lot of it is you're learning on the job, which is great, but you're also being supported. So you'll have training, you'll have online training, but you also have like in-person training. So that really helped me get the basic understanding of what, the basic instruments of finance, but also what my job entails. And then it's shadowing. So I shadowed a lot of people who were in my team just to understand, okay, fine, this is how you do your work. How does that entail to the task you've given me? So it was a lot of, okay, this is what I need to do. This is who knows what what needs to be done. This is what I need to learn from them. And then this is what I need to do at the end of it. So a lot of the first few months was learning, asking questions. No questions were silly. And then documenting, which is one really good tip I would give. Document everything you do. And when I say document, is like, this is the task I did. This is the impact it had. This is the teams I worked with. So you're showing your stakeholders, you're showing your skill set, but also the impact you've had to the business. Even though it's small, all impact is impact, however small it is. And then just showing stock and communicating this back to my managers and my teammates as well, and all the stakeholders. So a lot of this was very new to me. In university, you don't really have to do that. But then when you go to the workplace, the relationships and networks you have with the people you're working and the stakeholders you're working was quite important. So this is my experience with this particular internship. I also was very active in the D&I space with this, so that helped me give back to community, volunteering, and this also I was able to get skills that were not natural to get while in operations, so presenting, and the softer skills, where operations very technical. So I was able to then show I can navigate between and transfer the skills throughout. So that was just very interesting. A steep learning curve, and I think this is with any new job or new area you go into. But I think it's demonstrating you're able to learn, being able to communicate that, knowing how I also communicate and how I work, and being able to articulate that to people as well. So that was my experience.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our session with Morgan Stanley. Can we give Darshak and Alexandra a massive round of applause? Amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause.